Hello again, everyone. It's been a while since I put a video up, but as I mentioned before, I live on a tree farm, so right now is the busy part of the year. Haven't had time to put any videos up recently, and thank God nothing is broken in that meantime during our busy season, so that's another reason for not putting any videos up. Right now I've been busy fertilizing. Right now I don't have a 3-point hitch fertilizer for my International 240 tractor, so I got to use the Sears and this little lawn fertilizer, but there's a fertilizer. But anyways, this isn't the point of the video. This will be the point of the video tonight. I have an older style, not the new ones that are out. It's an older style Briggs&Stratton engine on this push mower. It's a 475 series, and the problem it's having is actually a pretty common problem that these engines that have this PulsaPrime carburetor on them. I personally hate this design. I think it's a terrible one. It's not very well engineered, I guess. They could have done a much better job on this. But anyways, the issue it's having is that the mower surges. The RPMs go up, then they fall back down. Go back up, fall back down. They just keep doing that the whole time. And there's a few things that can cause that. A lean fuel mixture can do that. That could be caused by dirt in the carburetor. Improper governor adjustments can do that, but in my case, this thing just started doing it, so the governor hasn't been messed with. So I mean, one or two things: either there's dirt in the carburetor in the jet and it's causing it to be lean, or the diaphragm in the carburetor has worn out. Now that's another common thing. After a few years, they just stretch and they can't function like they used to. So anyways, a few basic tools you need for this repair: something to drain your gas in, flat blade screwdriver, ratchet, extension, 3/8 socket, 1/2 inch socket, and a kit that contains, at the bare minimum, a new gasket and a new diaphragm. Now this particular kit I'm not too crazy about, because the actual Briggs&Stratton kit that you can buy, it actually includes a little screen. It's kind of like the fuel filter for this. This kit doesn't have it, but this is a Napa kit. I'm going to try and get you in close to see if you can probably, there we go. Replaces Briggs&Stratton for 3 to 3.75 horsepower vertical engines, PulsaPrime carburetors, assembled in Brazil. Looks like that's the part number 7-07060. I believe that's the part number. I don't know. There's another number down here. It's N-1342. But I picked this up at Napa because they were clearing out all their small engine stuff, so I wanted to have at least this on hand. So anyways, we're going to start digging into this. First thing you want to do, what I like to do is, you don't have to do this, but I do it. Just unplug the spark plug. That way there's less of it. It just won't start this way. You're not going to be doing anything that'll cause it to start, but better to be safe than sorry. And also, for anyone that has anything to say about this grounding strap that I used to shut this off, I know that isn't safe, but this it's a cheap push mower. I'm not going to spend the money for a cable for the handle. I don't recommend doing that, but me personally, I know that I'm in good conscience that I can do this, so I know what I'm doing. So anyways, we're going to start by removing the air filter. Whenever you do this, also check your element to make sure it's clear and it's clean. As you can see, that's basically a brand new element. I'm going to set this aside. Next thing we'll do, what I like to do, remove, now there's a couple different setups. I've seen ones that have like these switches and different ways that the governor operates, but for this one you just have the single spring. So we'll just unhook that. You can leave it lay there, it usually won't go anywhere. One tool I forgot to mention, you're going to need a Phillips screwdriver too for these screws down here. Next thing we're going to do, take your 3/8 socket, your ratchet, remove this front bolt here. Just kind of loosen it up. Next, take your extension, your other socket here, your 1/2 inch, loosen this back one. Now be careful, there's a little spacer behind this cast part of the tank. You don't want to lose that. Okay, tear that one free, loosen that one. Okay, now next thing, you just want to kind of grab the tank and gently wiggle it off. You want to keep in mind that your governor linkage is still attached to your carburetor, so don't go twisting it and breaking it. And there we go. It's a little bit tricky to pop this out, but just kind of work it slowly and easily. And break it in. There's a little governor spring. I'm going to put that back here so we don't lose it. Here's our fuel tank and carburetor assembly. I'm going to set this here. I'm going to point out a side note. Sometimes, oh, here's our spacer. We're going to leave that just right there because it's kind of happy right there. So, anyways, something to note whenever you pull this assembly off. This may or may not stay in the carburetor, it may come off. What it is, it's an O-ring and a keeper, and what that does, it fits in this bore here. This is the intake bore, it just fits in there, and then this kind of just snaps in there like that. So just to note that. So now we're going to drain our gas out. Now, you know, just be sensible when you're working around gasoline. Don't smoke or anything. So now the next thing we'll do is we'll remove these screws here. There's one here, 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 and one under there. So we're going to remove those now. I like to work in a pattern opposite of each other because these carburetors are made out of plastic and I just don't want to chance warping it or cracking it, because then you got to buy a new one. They're not that expensive, but it'll usually set you back a few days if you have to order it. So once you have them all broken loose, you can just go ahead and remove all of them. we're going to set these aside with our other bolts. There we go. Just pull the carburetor up off the tank. Next, what you'll do is just peel this diaphragm and gasket assembly. There's a little spring right there. That's what contacts your diaphragm. And just from looking at this, the diaphragm does look a bit stretched. More so than it would normally be. So it probably is just time for a new one. This is also a good time to just go ahead and remove the little filter screen off the carburetor and make sure that hole is clear. Also make sure that screen is good and clear. It looks like I have some crap on the end of that screen, but we'll clean that all up. Also, while you have this apart, it's a good idea to check and see if there's any debris in this recess down here. Any kind of gunk or anything, clean it all out. Make sure these little orifices are all clear. And also, this is also a good time if you have any water or sediment in your tank. This is also the perfect time to clean it out. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and pause this video real fast. I'm just going to clear out this orifice on this carburetor real fast. I'll show you what I've done here and after I unpause it. Okay, we're back again. All I did was just in this orifice here, I just took a set of torch tip cleaners and I found the one that fit in the orifice the best. Now whenever you find one that fits, don't go like sawing around in there with it. Just, you know, poke through and make sure it's nice and clear. If you have any brake cleaner or compressed air to spray in here, that's a good idea. If not, just it should be okay. Just blow through it and make sure it's clear. So now what we're going to do is the reassembly of this carburetor. Take our tank, make sure everything's nice and clean. We don't have any dirt anywhere. Looks good. Okay, back to the carburetor. We're going to open our diaphragm kit. And like I mentioned, Briggs&Stratton actually makes their own kit, and I do prefer it over this one. I've picked those up at Lowe's before. Lowe's, last time I was there, they have them in stock. But anyways, inside this little bag will be our new diaphragm and our new gasket. Now you want to make sure that they match. I'm not sure if they had any variations of this. Looks like our gasket matches. Set this aside. And it looks like our diaphragm matches as well. So we're good. So now the way this goes on is the diaphragm goes against the tank and the gasket goes against the carburetor. So also I just wanted to, I'm actually going to show you this. Just the comparison between the old one. See how that diaphragm's dished in real bad? And here's our new diaphragm. See, it's completely flat. Except for this. It's got like a little impression where it's supposed to be. But other than that, I mean, it's much less than this. I mean, this is, I would bet that's the issue we're having. What happens is the diaphragm just gets stretched over time. So anyways, we're going to put our gasket on the bottom of our carburetor. Let me double check how that went. Sorry, having a bit of a brain fart right now. Put gasket on. It'll just fit on like that. Next will be our diaphragm. It fits in the same manner. You just want to make sure you're gentle with it. You want to rip it. Put your little screen back on here. And then go ahead and reassemble the carburetor to the tank. You want to be careful. This is probably where you want to work as gentle as you can. You don't want to rip that diaphragm or pinch it. And whenever you go to put all the screws back in, make sure the holes are lined absolutely perfectly. Because again, you don't want to rip or damage this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put our screws back in. Another thing I've noticed, it seems like the Briggs&Stratton kit fits better than this one. Looks like the bolt holes are off just a sliver, but I guess that's pretty much with everything. The OEM parts almost always fit better than aftermarket, so. Okay. Now we're going to put the rest of the screws in. I'm leaving this video unedited because I want to show you guys how long this takes to do this repair. Now whenever you put these in, just snug them up, don't crank them down, because like I mentioned, the carburetor is plastic, so I'm sure there's a torque spec on these. I don't know it. I'm just kind of going by feel. Again, working a cross pattern. And go through and double check that they are still tight. It's good. It's good. Okay, we're good. Okay, now that you've reassembled the carburetor back on, it's pretty much from this point on a reversive removal. Before you put this on, it's a good idea to make sure that O-ring's in good condition, that it's not split, because that can definitely cause a lean mixture. And also, one thing I've found about these, if you hit a rock or something and the mower becomes out of balance, these intakes are made of plastic or some type of, it's almost like a fiberglass. Just take it and make sure it doesn't flop around or anything or flex real bad, because I've seen these more than once break. It's actually happened to this mower before. And I actually have a video on replacing this intake if you need to do that. So I include a part number for the Briggs&Stratton brand intake for these. So now comes probably one of the trickier parts, is getting that governor arm back in here. It's not too bad, just a little bit of messing around. Okay, there we go. Once our governor arm is reattached, go ahead and slip it back onto the intake, and keep note that your crankcase ventilation elbow goes back onto this aluminum piece here, this pipe. You'll kind of feel it seat, just like that. Once that's back on, go ahead and reinstall your bolts. Also make sure that your spacer is still there for this 1/2 inch. Careful not to over torque those too, because remember, it's threading into aluminum, so you don't want to damage it. Okay. Now we're going to reconnect our governor spring. And actually, just because of the container that my fuel's in, probably going to be easier to refuel this thing with the air filter off. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the fuel back in with the filter off right for the moment. Okay. And also a good thing to do, usually you can feel it whenever you're pushing the primer, but just go ahead and look down the intake and make sure you're getting a good stream of fuel coming out of the primer. So that has a good stream to it. Put the air filter back on. Oops. Okay, now it's ready to try. I'm not going to fire this up because it's, what time is it? It's 1:20 in the morning. I just got home from work a little while ago. And I don't know. You know what? Heck with it. We're going to start it. I don't care. No. Let's see if it runs. Well, as you can hear, it didn't surge, so definitely running higher than it should be, but that's because my adjustment that I made to compensate for the surging on that spring, I'm gonna have to knock it down a little bit, but that's easy. All you do is just bend this little tab that the spring connects to. So, and like I said, it's not going up and down in RPM like it was, so I'm gonna call this a success. All right, thanks for watching.